Tonight, we have the pleasure, nay, the honor, of not having to listen to our next star speaker. That's right. Instead, Chris Lipp will share a little bit about being less than the best. And after his speech, he will hold a 3-minute Q&A session per the manual requirements. Here tonight to present his speech, Winning Is Overrated, please help me welcome Chris Lipp.
Ladies and gentlemen, I come here to tell you today that the world is full of losers. That's right. Think of American Idol. 24 people compete, 1 winner, 23 losers. Even marathons, Silicon Valley marathons held annually. 1 winner, 2,500 losers. That means that every time Silicon Valley hosts a marathon, it populates the world a little more with losers. The world is full of losers. But that doesn't mean that being a loser is necessarily a bad thing. 2003, Clay Aiken lost American Idol and went on to sign a multi-million-dollar record contract. Or let's talk about an even bigger loser, Sarah Palin. She lost the 2008 election to become vice president. Now she makes hundreds of thousands of dollars giving speeches, political speeches. So clearly, being a loser ain't all that bad. But surely there's a difference. Winners are better than losers, right? And yet again, history doesn't necessarily support this point. If we look back at the invention of calculus, 2 people invented it, Newton and Leibniz. We know of Newton because he published first, because he won. But the quality of his ideas weren't necessarily better. Same thing with the theory of evolution. Darwin published first, he won. But at the same time, or roughly the same time, Alfred Wallace came out with the theory of evolution. Not much difference in the quality of their work. Just that one happened to win and one didn't. So maybe winning and losing isn't necessarily a differentiation of quality. Today I'm here to talk about competing, and ultimately, what it means to lose. So you might be asking yourself, Chris, that's great, you come in here, you want to talk about losing. But where's your credibility, eh? What differentiates you from any loser off the street? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to proudly say I have a history of losing that dates all the way back to 2006 in this club. I have competed in 7 official club contests in Toastmasters. And I have lost 7 official club contests in Toastmasters. In fact, I've got my awards right here. 2006 Club Table Topic Speech Contest, 2nd place. 2007 Evaluation Speech Contest, Certificate of Participation. Now, I don't know if you know, Certificate of Participation means I didn't even score in the top 3. And the list goes on. In fact, I've competed in the Humorous Speech Contest twice, and I've received Certificate of Participation in the Humorous Speech Contest twice. Which means I'm not only a loser, I'm also not funny. But still, you might be asking yourself, well, Chris, didn't you win the PowerPoint contest? That's right, I did win the PowerPoint contest. It's funny how the only contest I won, I didn't have to speak a single word. So I feel I'm qualified to talk about losing. And so on those dark and lonely nights after I lose, I go home and I nurse my fragile ego. I tell myself, Chris, losing and winning are kind of the same thing. There's not a lot of difference, it's okay. And I think about this, and I've gone on Wikipedia and I've looked up, in Major League Baseball, in the history of Major League Baseball, in ice hockey, even in basketball, there has not been a single team that has lost every game in a season. For the whole history of these 3 sports, over 150 years, there's not been a single team in these 3 sports that has lost every game in a season. Which means that, in a way, losing is winning. Because my probability every time I lose goes up that I'm going to win. So I tell myself this, dark, lonely nights. But that's not it. As well, there's research that shows that marathon runners, marathon competitors, they actually their bodies produce more endorphins. So they are more immune to depression. Immunity wouldn't be the right word, but they get less depression, they're more happy. There's not a differentiation between first place and the other 2,500 places. It's just marathon competition in general. So another thing that I tell myself is I say, you know what, Chris? It's not that you lost. It's that you beat out the other 5.6 billion people who never competed at all. But surely, you're probably thinking to yourself, losing is not about performance, is it? Thinking, you know, Chris, how are you going to address the feelings? What about the feelings? I just hate to lose. It's not that I hate to be bad, I just hate to lose. You know, as an evaluation, when I participated in this evaluation contest, honestly, I was actually I was thinking to myself, you know, I just gave a speech on how to give a great evaluation. It'd be terribly embarrassing if I lost the evaluation contest. So I was feeling embarrassment about it, and I was actually thinking maybe I shouldn't even compete. And I was also thinking, you know, Muni the Conan Nakamura is going to be there. So I had a little bit of fear. Right? But ultimately, what I was really concerned with, that people would see that, you know, oh God, they'll see me as a loser if I lose. You know, really what I was thinking is, what I'm afraid of is people will be like, oh, you know, I thought that Chris guy was a good speaker, but then he competed and he lost. Well, he's a loser. I didn't know that, but now I know that. He's a loser. So I guess the ultimate fear, really, for me at least, is that, you know, when you compete, you're going to be seen as a loser. I don't know the answer to that, if it's true or not. You guys saw me lose. I guess your feelings for how they changed with me after I lost is probably very much how other people's feelings are when you lose. You have to decide that for yourself, what those feelings are. So another way that I really tried to think about it on these late nights, trying to put together my fragile ego with Scotch tape, is I think, you know what, ultimately competition, winning and losing, is like investment. It's like the stock market. In the stock market, you're not going to win every day. You're not going to get money every day, but you kind of look at 5 years, or maybe the long term, 10 years, to really make gains, not the immediate. And I think with competition, I think with winning and losing, the same rules apply. The real rule that I tell myself is ultimately this. It's not about winning all the time. It's about growing over time. So thank you for listening, and now, at this point, I'd like to open the floor up to a Q&A session. If you have any comments about whether the benefits of winning and losing, or if you have any comments about fears that I might not have addressed in losing, please share those with me now. David.
So what's the one thing I'm supposed to take away from your speech?
The one thing to take away, competing is not about winning all the time. It's about growing over time. Thank you for asking. Tom.
Explain the difference between, this is where I struggle, explain the difference between being a good loser and a poor sport. Because I'm a poor sport.
Well, you know, a poor sport is acting somewhat irrationally, because a poor sport in a way is trying to manage their own impressions by other people. Whereas losers thinking, you know, for me this is a growth opportunity, I'm going to hold that in. A poor sport really has sort of an outward negativity that they're casting to other people, and I think that is in part, it's sort of it is in itself a form of communication. Laura. Okay. Tom.
No.
Oh.
Go ahead, Don.
At which point that we should think about, at any point during the game, in the competitions, there can be a decision that we have to make between continue fighting and get out of the game. And at different situations, you know, one can be more rational than the other. You know, you might need to get out of the game to cut the loss, right? Or you might need to stick to the game to gain the benefit that you're supposed to harvest in the long term. So how do you make the decision?
Always hold your goal in mind. And I think the same, for example, in investing. If you were to invest money and you'll see the stock then suddenly drop for a week, well, you were planning on a 5-year term. You had a goal, a commitment. And I think the same applies in competition. You have a commitment, so maybe you'll start losing right away. Let's say you play a football game. Let's say at the first quarter ends and you're down 14 points, so it looks like pretty clear you're going to lose. But is that the reason you competed necessarily to win? Maybe you competed to improve your team's performance. or to give a good show. And those goals can empower you to continue forward and play your best. So always know your goal when you enter into a competition, and always be cognizant of whether that goal is continuing to be fulfilled as you compete. I think at this point, we're running short on time for questions, but I'd be happy to discuss more afterwards. So thank you very much.